Welcome to Truth Quest. If you are striving to balance earthly challenges with a heavenly perspective in areas like business, family, relationships, money, and personal growth, you have found your community. Welcome back to Truth Quest. With me today is Josh Freiberg. We've brought him back. Josh is the owner of Josh Freiberg Facilitation and Coaching. He uses his skills to help others on their personal journeys. So, after 35 years of following Jesus, he has experienced profound moments of faith, including an exorcism in Nepal, which I'm going to dig into.
Please.
And in this current season of life, he feels like God is teaching him about the depth of God's love and the importance of reconciliation for all people. So, with that intro, boom!
Boom.
Okay, let's go to the elephant in the room. Um, when did you see this exorcism? What happened in Nepal?
Oh, yeah. So it's super fascinating. So I've been going to Nepal for several years. I was part of a church in Oregon called Evergreen Christian Center. It's part of the Foursquare Mission International.
Cool.
Foursquare Mission is founded in the 1920s in Los Angeles, actually, as part of a revival movement started by Amy Semple McPherson, who has an interesting and mixed story, but interesting side story. Do you remember hearing this song, Hooray for Hollywood? Hooray for Hollywood. In that, it has the lyrics, we have everything from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple. And Amy Semple McPherson was the founder of the Foursquare movement. They built the Angelus Temple there, and it was known for these like massive revivals as part of the Foursquare movement. At any rate, I'd been going to Nepal for a few years as part. We were short-term missions there, supporting indigenous pastors and leaders in Nepal, which has one of the smallest Christian by percentage populations in the world. The king of Nepal famously kept Christian missionaries out of the country. Perhaps smartly, he said, where the cross enters, the Union Jack follows. And so he noticed that Christian missionaries were the precursor to British colonialism and expansionism. So less than 2% of the population is Christian, and it's actually a crime to convert or proselytize while you're there. But we did a lot of work with people to help missionaries, that help orphans and widows and churches. So to your story, we were there, and I didn't grow up particularly like Pentecostal or charismatic. I knew people who expressed spiritual gifts, things like praying in tongues and words of prophecy and stuff like that, but had never experienced it personally. And had actually prayed for people to receive those spiritual gifts and seen them receive those or express those. And I still don't know what all this means yet. But one day we were in a church service. It was really wonderful. And it was being co-led by some of the visitors as well as some of the local folks. And this boy walked in, probably 15, 16 years old, and looked very like you would, and I would describe as very distressed, very maybe angry, unwell. And his friends were like, hey, can you guys come pray for this guy? We went downstairs to a separate room. And over the course of, 10, 15 minutes, we were praying for him and with him. And he was having, if I could like just sort of like press video record on what I observed, he was kind of acting out physically, like kind of writhing around and screaming. And I was praying kind of quietly. Other people were very loud and expressive. There were at least 3 different languages represented in the room. And so I would only pick up on the English. And then all of a sudden, something changed. And we prayed a little while. He calmed way down. I remember going upstairs afterwards, and some people stayed with him. And about, 10 minutes later, this kid walked in, and I'm like, oh, weird. He's got the same shirt and hat as the guy downstairs who was in distress. And then I went, wait a minute, that's like the same dude. And he was completely transformed. And I asked some of the kids who had brought him, like, what happened? And they said this guy had been um, messing around, is kind of what they said, with uh, dark practices. What like he
Mm-hmm.
what even like within their culture they would have called dark practices.
Yeah.
And they believe they told me that like he had a demon in him and we cast him out. I was like, okay, it's cool. So
Right.
yeah, so there's a big skeptical part of me that's like, I don't know what happened. But there's also a part of me that in faith says, that we believe that people can be healed. And
Right.
I think today, yeah, we're in a shift in our culture in the West, right? We're in
Mm-hmm.
a shift in our culture from we're probably in like what some might call like late modernity, right? The modernism is the
Uh-huh.
idea of, that we can know things through our senses. It's where we get the idea of like science and empiricism. But
Right.
but those things all have like a foundation at their core, and we're moving into postmodernism or late modernity, which questions the foundations, right? It questions the grand narratives that fuel us and that sort of thing. And so we, as Christians, as we move into this new era, this new worldview of thinking, we need to be able to transform how we talk about our faith,
Mm-hmm.
and we can go back to ancient understandings of our faith. Well, in the recent past, the overwhelming narrative within Christianity is one of guilt, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
whether that's like just guilty guilt, or
Right.
it's legal guilt, right? You are legally guilty of sin and falling short of a standard. You've heard this type of language before.
Right.
But that the punishment for your guilt, for your lack of achieving this standard, has been paid by someone else. So you
Yeah.
don't have to receive the punishment. This is technically called penal substitutionary atonement, that that our
Mm-hmm.
sins are atoned for because Christ pays the price.
Right.
However, as we start talking to people who are more entrenched in postmodern thinking, they don't have that kind of guilt. They don't live with the
Right.
fear of God in that way. What they do live with is, and they're probably going to use these terms more metaphorically than you and I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
but what they live with is demons, right? And again,
Mm-hmm.
more metaphorical, like, but they would say like, hey, we all have our demons, right?
Right.
Would be a really common phrase. What if we could say, your demons have been defeated in Christ? Do you
Mm.
feel ill? Jesus is a healer who can bring healing to you. Do
Right.
you feel like you're surrounded by death? Jesus put death to death.
Yeah.
So we can actually tap deeply into these understandings
Mm-hmm.
of what Jesus' work on the cross means. So if nothing else, do I know what happened that day I was in Nepal? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But boy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really,
But you know what you witnessed.
I know what I witnessed, and I'm persuaded that the one of the powers of Christ is to heal us is that we no longer need to be afraid
Right.
of the darkness in the world, of demons in the world, of death, of hell. These things have all been destroyed on the cross.
Right. No, amen. Well, and the thing is that the God of the Old Testament is still the same God that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
All those things that happened that
Sure.
we talk about, the healings and the demons being cast out, and well, just from creation on, right? It's the same God. He didn't stop doing what he does. I think that we stopped seeing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, and another time I will share because there's just things that happen in Tibet, and we did a mission trip there as well,
Oh,
and that
cool.
was that was probably the most impactful visualization of healing that I'd ever seen, and it was, I mean, the miracles were powerful.
Yeah.
So I think that some of the third world countries are just outside of the Western culture.
Mm-hmm.
They receive who God is easier than we receive who God is.
Mm. Yeah.
Right? I almost feel like our Western culture tries to dumb it down. You can't dumb God down or
Yeah.
to weaken him. He
Yeah.
still has all that.
Right.
He still does all that when we are open.
I, I wanted, you brought up something to mind. Years ago, I got to preach through parts of Leviticus, right? Everybody's favorite book.
I was going to say, did you choose that?
No, we were doing like a through the Bible thing.
Okay.
And it was literally like, hey, Josh, can you just preach on Leviticus? Like, well, no, because nobody can just do 40 minutes on that. But I could do part of it. And I really wanted to look into the centerpiece of the book of Leviticus is the Day of Atonement, right? What Yom Kippur is the festival. And what would happen is they would bring two goats to the priest. And we get this wrong in the contemporary Western mind, because we're obsessed with the myth of redemptive violence, the idea that like something could be redeemed by doing violence. And so we like are really attracted, humans are really attracted to this idea of like making someone pay like a punishment for something. But that's not what actually happens on Yom Kippur. What happens is the priest lays his hands on one of the goats and transfers the sin of the community onto that goat, and then sends that goat out into the wilderness. There's a word that it's a little hard to describe what it might mean, but the word is Azazel, and they think it probably actually means like a demonic god. That they put the guilt on the goat and then send your goat, right? God separates our sin as far from us as the east is from the west, takes the guilt of the community out into the wilderness. The second goat is offered as a thanksgiving. So it's offered as a meal that we share with God. Right? We think that it's a payment. No, it is. God has already taken that and separated it from us, and now we can celebrate and share a meal together with God.
So there's no payment.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. And now look for the hate comments in the down below.
I know. Go ahead, bring it on, folks.
Yeah. And I'm not like making this up whole cloth. I mean, I can definitely like reference books and authors that you want that are talking about these things.
Right.
But this is
no.
We've been framed in like one narrow slice of Christian history and Christian understanding, but there's more that can be drawn on. And it can be really powerful for our witness and our conversation in our world right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, okay, let's dial it back to you.
Okay.
I know because we talk every week.
Yeah.
So that you can beat me up as a coach. No,
I don't know if I beat you up.
You don't beat me up. I know. I'm a master at trying to evade. Anyway, but you had a bit of a rough year yourself. You had some family health issues. You've had loss. What practices do you have that help you maintain joy and gratitude during challenging circumstances?
Yeah, I think a few different things probably help me in this. So one is I do have a bit of a default setting of, and I've been accused of being a Pollyanna, right? And Pollyanna is this famous Haley Mills movie from, what is it, probably the 60s, where Pollyanna shows up to this grumpy town and she's like, let's play the glad game. And like, she can always find the silver lining and everything. She actually ends up getting a unnamed disease in it. She kind of goes into the depths, into her own depths. And then the community rallies around her and is like, no, you can't be the person who falls apart in hard times. You're the one who helped pull us out. But I do have a tendency to be like, what might be great here? What can we learn? But I think, so some of it is a tendency, like just a natural setting of mine. But another part of it is a discipline, is a, pause, notice that I'm down spiraling, choose what's going great here, what could be good here, what's positive here. The more recent idea that I've been having around this is we often look to solve our lack of happiness or lack of joy through addition. Oh, I'm missing something. I need
Hmm.
to go get something and add it to my life. But
Okay, I'm guilty.
yeah, but what if our set point is joy?
Hmm.
And what we need to do is look, and when we're not experiencing happiness, not experiencing joy, we go, what do I need to remove to get back to joy? Right?
So
That
it's
it's
like
not
something is suffocating your joy, right?
right. So yeah, so it's not what? It's not if I'm in a hot air balloon, how do I add more heat? It's how do I jettison what's holding me back?
Right.
I don't know if hot air balloon is the right metaphor, but it's like how do we weigh anchor here? How do we
Hmm.
and so it's what I'm noticing is when I'm down spiraling, when I'm out of joy, it's like, oh, because I'm stuck in, the doom scroll on my phone, or because I'm stuck caring about things with which I have no ability to control or influence.
Hmm.
It's because I'm stepping into tribalism and us them mentality and white
Hmm.
hat, black hat thinking, and who is the enemy? The idea that there are good people and bad people, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Rather than every one of us is a mix of good people and bad people, and
Right.
that my call is to continue to put to death the false Josh and let the true Josh be reborn, right?
Hmm.
Like so that I think um, so most of those practices are mental. But then I also think things like, honestly, good physical self care,
Yeah.
like in the West, driven mostly by Greco-Roman thinking, not by actually scriptural thinking or um, Hebrew thinking. We believe that we are like bodies and brains, right?
Hmm.
And that we're actually mostly we believe that we're minds that just get to travel around in this meat car. Um,
This meat car.
like I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that is how we
I
typically
like
think
it.
of it. Yeah. And we typically think of the mental things as being higher and the physical things as being lower and all of that. But
Hmm.
that's not like what Genesis says in terms of it's like anthropology. It is we are dust and breath,
Hmm.
right? That we are the breath of God in flesh. And so there is something interesting that our body, brain, mind, whatever that is, works together.
Hmm.
And am I doing good physical health practices? Because when
Hmm.
I do those, oh, guess what shows up? Better mental health, better ability to focus, better ability to
Hmm.
be present to the good things around me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, when you lose your health, it is a huge distraction.
Oh, for sure.
And from what's important, and what's important really isn't this earth,
Mm-hmm.
it's the eternal perspective. And we have a job to do here on earth, and we're not going to do that if all we're looking at is
Yeah.
our own pain or discomfort or.
Right. Well, and ultimately too, the part of the message, not ultimately, but part of the message of the incarnation, right,
Uh
is
huh.
that it shows us the goodness of the enfleshment, right, the goodness of the physical
Mm hmm.
world,
Mm hmm.
and that God begins that process, begins that project of
Mm hmm.
redeeming all things, restoring, reconciling
Mm hmm.
all things to God's self.
Yeah.
That starts when, at least in part, right?
Mm hmm.
If the first incarnation is probably the creation of the cosmos, right? But that second
Right.
incarnation of Jesus, of God became flesh and dwelt among us,
Mm hmm.
is that process of reconciling all things.
Mm hmm. I know. Isn't it amazing that he wants to reconcile himself to us when we're just dirt and
Mm-hmm.
breath,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
The only
we
thing
just.
I want to say, instead of reconcile himself to us, I think
Oh
what
no, you're
Corinthians
right.
says is reconcile us to
Us to
him.
him. No,
Like
good
he didn't
call.
go anywhere. That's
Right?
that's prodigal son. He's
Yes.
there waiting for us to return,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
hopeful, seeking us out. That's the picture. Always, as we leave, God seeks us out. The sheep, one leaves with, the 99. The
Right.
shepherd goes and seeks them out. One coin is lost, lights a
Yeah.
lamp and finds the lost coin. One son is lost. Actually, both sons are lost. Um, one just won't admit it. And
Right.
right. And the Father is constantly calling us back and seeking us out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That, by the way,
Yeah.
there you go. How do you experience joy when you're not experiencing joy? When circumstances of life like are hard?
Right.
Oh yeah, God is seeking me out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we've particularly lost in our comfortable culture. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
much victim of this, is the way of Christ is the way of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And so can we experience suffering as a gift?
Mm-hmm.
Can we say, like, these are the ways that we enter into the sufferings of others, that we enter into the sufferings of the least of these, that we enter into the sufferings of the poor, is that we actually engage our own suffering
Mm-hmm.
and go, oh, this is a gift, not something just simply to be avoided or self-medicated or
Right.
ignored.
Right.
This isn't bad. This is like, we live in a fallen, suffering world, that God enters into it and invites us to enter into it with God.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's when we go there, it has to be an intentional. Like
Hmm.
I'm intentionally going to look for where is God in this, where is the
Yeah.
joy in this, and it's okay that it appears to be suffering, but
Right.
where is His intent? And well, as you and I discussed earlier this week, it's practicing the presence of God, of being,
Mm,
because it's not
yeah.
so bad. I mean, nothing is so bad when you can just lean into Him. When you are consciously aware of the presence of God, it really isn't as bad. I don't know
It,
how else to describe it.
well, and I'll tell you, I mean, our call yesterday, I told you, like, holy cow, you just look like light and bright and full. Like, what happened? And you were like, I mean, as you're describing the facts of your week, nothing changed. But as
Right.
you described your ability to be present to the ever present God,
Hmm.
that was a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, a huge difference. And I think that, to your point, that's exactly it. Don't look for no suffering. Look for
Right.
His presence regardless,
Yeah. His
because
presence
there's the
in the
joy.
suffering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there is joy in that, and even in the
Hmm.
suffering, because you have the presence of God. So,
Yeah.
um, you ever have seasons of like spiritual dryness or doubt?
This is a great question. All right, settle in. Here we go. Um, so I think, like a lot of people, when I was, and some people have this experience for a long time,
Hmm.
maybe even their whole life. But I think that God gives us this amazing gift to many of us when we're young, which is this gift of, like, a very of presence, of ecstatic experiences, of,
Right.
like, really, like, uh, mystical experiences sometimes,
Hmm.
uh, things, uh, we pray for something and it happens, and we experience miracles, like all of those things, right?
Right.
And those are wonderful, and I want to, like, be so excited for people when they have those. Now, what happens when we're young is we formulate those, as we concretize those and say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, and
Mm-hmm.
oh, like, this is what I read about when I read the saints and I read the mystics and I read scriptures. It's like, oh, these kinds of experiences. What doesn't often get, and so in in, like, uh Latin, what they call is the via positiva, the positive way.
Okay.
But there's this other way that's called, like, the via negativa, and this is like John of the Cross, Dark Night of the Soul. This is even when they read back. Uh, oh, I can't believe it. Mother Teresa, when they read back her journals, she described not experiencing the presence of God for the last decades of her life.
Oh, wow.
Um, and can we experience God in the darkness? Can we experience God in the absence, right? God is sometimes described as the God who hides. And can we do that? Now, here's the crazy thing. What takes more faith? Right? Jesus says, like, you have great faith because you have seen, but how great is the faith for those who have not seen? Right.
Right. Right.
And there's this other faith that is like, that is dry, that is found in the darkness, that is found in the times of absence. I'm reading this book by Father Richard Rohr right now, and the chapter this morning was just talking about this, and the quote was something like, in the daylight we see the path, but in the darkness the stars are revealed. There is something that God is choosing to reveal to us in the darkness, in his hiddenness, in his absence, in the via negativa. And it takes I don't want to say more because I don't want to quantify it. I don't want to put levels to it, but I just want to say that there is something very different about not feeling it and doing it anyway. Right? Like I've often said about courage, right? Courage is not the absence of fear. If someone's unafraid and jumps off the cliff, they're not brave. That's not brave. They weren't afraid.
It's just kind of dumb.
Right? Yeah. But if you, right, well, let's say you're jumping off the cliff into the lake, right?
Okay.
Like, if you've done it 50 times and you're not afraid, that's not courage.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not cool. It's still cool. But courage is I'm afraid and I jump anyway, is being afraid and jumping anyway. Right? Faith is based on things we can't see. And if we can't see them, we can't feel them, and yet have faith. This is a deeper, this is a richer, this is often a more mature kind of faith. Not more is not. Anyway, it's different, and it's been one that I've gone through several seasons of, and I would say I don't typically have those mystical experiences as frequently or as radically as they were in the past, and yet there's a simplicity that I've found and am finding by having gone through the via negativa.
Just
so
to
the
help
spiritual
you
dryness
navigate.
What's that?
So this, I mean, basically, it's almost like your time on task of going through this repeatedly, different times, has built like a navigation system for you on how do I maneuver, how do I get through this,
It's
and increase
also
my
not.
faith.
Yeah, it's not. It's also not trying to go back. It's not like, oh, I lost it, I need to get it back. It's, oh, that got me to this place. It's not getting me to the next place. And there's something, for me, there's been something on the other side of it. Right? What some people do is they get into the place of dryness, darkness, absence, and they abandon faith. And I'm like, why don't you stay with it? There may be, who Tricor, I think is the guy's name, talks about a second naivety or a second simplicity. We start with a simple faith, right? But I mean, if you still have Sunday school, like 6th grade Sunday school faith in your 50s, in your 40s and 50s, 60s, like, I don't know, part of me wants to be really happy for you. Part of me wants to be like, oh, there's something that you haven't had access to, and maybe you're not supposed to, I don't know. But like, there's also something that gets found when you return to it anew, and it doesn't have the same meaning. It doesn't have the same, but it's not about going back. You can't go home, right? It's about going through, and there's something available on the other side.
Yeah. And that's where the growth happens, right?
Yeah.
Growth is painful. Growth is a season. And a season's not always 3 months. It's rarely 3 months. I have discovered that. It's a horrible thing. I always wanted the seasons to always be 3 months.
This is something that I was saying during COVID, right? Early on in COVID, midway through COVID, people kept saying, I want to go back to normal. I want to go back to normal. I want to go back to normal. And I'm like, really? Normal kind of sucked. Like we were all overworked and stressed and right, driven by our like all this nonsense. Like, how about we go forward to better? How about we take the lessons we're learning, find out what the gifts are of this time, and go forward. So when we go into seasons of dryness, don't try to, or go into seasons of suffering, go into seasons of hard times, don't go back to normal. Go forward to better.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And
this is like the experience of, you know, you and I have both experienced close family members passing this last year. And there will be no going back. There is no going back, right? There is only going forward. And there's, you know, and so we take the things of gratitude for what we had. We take gratitude for what we have and are learning, right? And we move forward. Yeah, but like, it's not through ignoring the pain that we get there either. It's through asking the pain what it has to teach us, and knowing that God suffers with us in the midst of that. That's compassion. Suffer with is that Christ takes on our sufferings and suffers with us in the midst of that.
So we just need to lean into his presence and walk with him through it.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot easier. I love that. And that being said, that's a good place for us to stop, because
all right,
I'd love to chat all day, but yeah, we'll keep doing this. We'll keep doing this. Josh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And those of you listening, thank you for listening in. Please keep coming back so that we can keep finding more to quest after in this life and finding truth. Have a good one.
Thanks, Diet.
As we conclude this episode of Truth Quest, we invite you to be a part of the conversation. Send in your questions, thoughts, and reflections. Don't forget, like, follow, and subscribe to stay updated on our journey together. Until next time, may you continue to seek truth with courage, and remember to sprinkle a little grace, even if that's all you've got.